Good morning, Jeremiah Krakowski here. What I wanted to talk with you about today is dealing with negativity from close friends and family members during this time with COVID-19. I talked with a lady this morning, and I've talked with a number of my clients this week of how do we navigate this with compassion, with kindness when people are negative or they just want to throw on you what they're feeling. They just want you to agree with them, or they just want you to validate their position. How do we be loving in this area without taking it on and not be unloving to ourselves, still have boundaries in this moment? The first thing is don't play the game that other people have cast you in. Just because other people have used you in the past to be their solution or problem solver doesn't mean that you have to be cast in that role in these moments. And even this doesn't apply just to this moment in time with what's going on now. This applies to all relationships with friends and family members. We can love people, but we don't have to agree with them. We don't have to agree with people to understand and say, I hear you and I understand. You don't need to put yourself into repeated situations of negativity and even self-abuse by putting up with these things. We can be loving without needing other people to act or react the way that we want them to. And oftentimes we might have a pattern in the past of being a people pleaser, always saying what other people think, what we think other people want us to say, so that we get loved, so that they don't think or say something about us behind our back. We're trying to control other people this way. Listen, you can have sympathy and empathy. You don't need to have sympathy in a way where you're putting yourself into situations that you're taking on what the other person is feeling. You don't need to put yourself in situations where you are letting them project onto you their feelings. You don't need to agree with people to show that you understand and are loving. And you're not obligated to do that. Here's the thing. Sometimes we prevent other people from stepping up in their life because we become codependent with their woes. We become codependent with what they're feeling because we've always rushed in to save them, enabling people to never grow. We're enabling them to stay stuck right where they are because we're trying to manage how they react. And by doing that, we put ourselves into situations that we don't want to do, that we're not comfortable with. And we feel like, oh, well, we have to combat, or we have to battle, or we have to make somebody else agree with us and come to our side for us to be okay. Stop trying to control other people's reactions to you. Stop trying to control what their thoughts are, what their feelings and choices are. You can't control another person's feelings and choices. You can't. And listen, you're not obligated to take on anyone's negativity or even listen to it after repeated negativity. You don't need to stay silent in the face of this type of thing if what you're saying might make somebody feel uncomfortable. You don't need to stay silent. At the same time, you don't need to keep putting yourself into situations where you have this keep coming on at you. You can be loving, you can still communicate with people, but you don't need to take on the moments of where I have to come into it with you and agree with you and fall into the pattern that we've been so used to in our dynamic. Listen, growing as powerful people means I show you and model how I expect to be treated by how I treat you. I model how respectful people and powerful people communicate for you. You don't need another person to agree with that or model that to you to be a powerful person. In your interactions, be a leader. Lead other people. Lead in your life. Leadership does not mean making another person do what I want them to do. That's the opposite of leadership, in fact. Leadership is, how can I have empathy, hear you, understand, be there, supportive, compassionate, and kind without needing to agree or make you agree with me? And listen, instead of accusing people like, oh, well, you're doing this or this is what you need to do, just start to ask more questions. People just want to be heard. They just want to know that you understand. When you're dealing with situations of negativity, situations where people are negative and they're constantly dumping on you what they're feeling, what they're thinking, you don't need to take it on. You don't need to agree with it. You don't need to walk in agreement with the role that they've cast you in. You can say, yeah, no, I totally understand. I get it. I love you. It's awesome. You don't need to do that. And doing that doesn't mean that you're agreeing with what's going on. It doesn't mean that you're lying. It doesn't mean that you're people pleasing at all. We can be powerful people. We can express love. We can be kind to other people without having to make other people do exactly what we want. And at the end of the day as well, we can set boundaries. We can say, hey, listen, I'm not here to talk about negative stuff or this conversation. Listen, this is where this conversation ends. Listen, this conversation is not going to go any further. You're not obligated to continue walking in negativity with somebody. You're not obligated to that, and nobody's obligated to listen to what you're saying as well. A powerful person sets a boundary and knows what they tolerate. Whatever you tolerate in your life, other people will expect you to continue to tolerate. Now, you might be like, well, I've tolerated that. How do I shift into this moment without offending people? You can't manage the emotional reactions of other people. If they're offended, let them be. You need to manage yourself, your emotions, and your decisions in these moments. And in this, make the right choice that's loving for you and for other people. Ask yourself and ask God, what's the most loving choice that I can make for myself and for this other person today without being codependent, without stepping into the swirl of things, without taking on what they're experiencing. Just because other people that you love are experiencing something doesn't mean that you have to take it on. Maybe you've had a pattern of that in your life where you take on what other people are experiencing as your only way of being able to help them or understand. It's time for you to start to learn how to set powerful boundaries and be okay with that. It doesn't mean that you're unloving, setting a boundary with somebody. And don't allow other people to tell you that you are being unloving, that you're being dishonorable, that you're not being a good person, or that you're bad because you're not reacting the way that they want you to as well. Oftentimes we're trying to prevent other people from accusing us of these things that we don't want to be, that they don't want, People know that. You don't need to fall in line to what other people think that you are doing and agree with them as well. We can be loving with people. We can be powerful people. We can be who God made us to be. We can have compassion and kindness and be an expression of love to others by understanding, hearing them out, but being firm and solid in our convictions, our beliefs, what we know to be true, without needing to make another person agree with that, without needing the other person to say that we're right or to validate us. And oftentimes, this all boils down to needing self-validation. I've been guilty of this myself. The reason that I would put myself into situations is ultimately I just wanted somebody else to validate me. To validate me that I was good, to validate me that I wasn't bad or doing something wrong. If you can believe in yourself and you know inside of you, I'm making the right choice that's loving to myself, that God is directing, that's a good choice. You don't need another person to agree with that being a good choice for it to be. Believe in yourself and trust yourself enough to make the right choices that are healthy and loving for yourself. And again, ask God and ask yourself, what's the most loving choice and decision and action that I can make in this moment? And sometimes, maybe you need to get on the phone with somebody and say, I love you. Hey, I got to go. Let's talk soon. Let's catch up later, and end the call there. You don't need to keep diving deep into the swirl with people. You don't need to keep diving deep into the muck. You don't need to be the savior to lift everybody else out. Sometimes when we let go and release and let go, that's the most loving choice that we can make to somebody. Because then that gives them an opportunity to step up on their own instead of relying on us to do it for them. And so in this moment, what's the most loving thing that you can do when there's negativity from close friends or family members? Start with this question. Flip it. What's the most loving choice and decision I can make for myself today? And then what would I do in that moment? And that'll help you to be loving in these moments. You may need to watch through this video again. There's a lot of different pointers I threw out there in this video. I think it's going to help a lot of people that are in some of these codependent family dynamics and friend dynamics to be powerful people in these moments and to grow in their life and to walk as powerful people, to be who God made them to be. Listen, you have a plan and a destiny for your life that God has appointed for you. You don't need to become somebody else to be safe or secure in your life. You don't need to be somebody that you're not. You don't need to turn into the version of yourself that other people have cast you in to walk in love. Start to stand firm with confidence. And it takes time. And yeah, I'm going to be honest, you're going to probably mess up when you start this process. There's going to be some pain. It's going to hurt a little bit. It will. That's part of it. But the more you do it, it gets easier over time. And you can walk as a powerful person that makes choices and decisions that are loving for yourself and other people, and that are ultimately doing the right thing for everybody. So today, as we're walking out in these moments, there's so much negativity around us. Everybody's experiencing it. You might be the only light that other people see in the world today. And you might say, well, yeah, that's why I need to help these people. That's why I need them to listen to me. I need to be a light. You can be a light without other people needing to also shine. That's the other thing. They don't need to agree with you. Just be a light. A light just is and illuminates. It doesn't need to require other lights to illuminate as well. It just shows and models how powerful it is by the example. And it understands. I bless you. Have a good one, everybody. Grow your life. If you have any questions on this as well, I'd love to chat with you. We'll talk soon.